All right, my turn. All right, I think I'm going to cast my custom spell World Ender. All right, let's roll. And hey, that's a crit. All right, here we go. Let me collect the dice, And yep, that should be enough right there. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, yeah, All right, that's yep, I think that's about 227 damage. Yep, that's right. 227 damage. Saves? Fails. Okay. Oh, all dead, huh? No, well, I mean, that's the game.
Hi, I'm Anthony.
And I'm Roland.
And welcome to Twin Dragons. Welcome to our channel where we discuss everything tabletop role playing.
All right, imagine this. Your players have experienced a beautiful campaign, exciting, fun. You guys make it to the final boss, and then you guys begin your battle. It is epic, and then they all die. Is does that equate to fun? I mean, is everybody gonna be okay with that, or
So, what you're saying is to kill the players or not to kill the players?
to TPK or not to TPK? So, what do you think?
Man, so let's figure this out. The players are rolling pretty bad. Maybe you set up a trap for them. Maybe it was a simple trap. Maybe it was a little pit that they just had to easily jump over. But on the bottom of that pit had deadly spikes. And they just rolled terrible. And they kept falling into the pit. And they just ended up dying from a simple trap.
What do you do? I think that you have to ask yourself, right? Is this a good stopping point for the campaign? And you're going to look at it and you're going to be like, well, no, this is not a good one. So what do you do, right? Mm-hmm. I think this is really going to come down to being creative, right? On the game master side. Well, if the whole party jumped in the pit, right? I mean, if it's one player, okay, you can have the player just re-roll a new character or whatever have you. But if it's the whole team that just said, YOLO'd it and just jumped right into the pit all together at the same exact time and they all died.
It was just bad rolls.
Bad rolls. So I think for the game master to be creative, right? You could do something like, well, maybe it was poisonous tipped, and it wasn't that the spikes did damage, it was poison damage, right? But the poison wasn't meant to kill. It was actually meant to incapacitate and or stun or make unconscious the characters. And then have the big baddies of the dungeon or whatever have you collect the party. Either then put them in prison, so now you have a prison escape you got to do, or maybe put them in the cook pots of the have them wake up in the cook pots of the ogres or whatever have you, and then they have to escape from it, right? Something. So sometimes you have to be creative, find a solution to what seems to be like a very serious problem.
And it's okay if you don't have the solution right away. Maybe that's a good stopping point for the night. And you're like, oh, y'all, hey, we're going to pause it here. And we're going to pick up the next session.
And that's going to create so much suspense. Because the party's going to be like, wait a second, didn't we just die? Like,
we'll see, right? You create a suspenseful moment.
Yep.
And that allows your players to just be on the seat of their pants, just waiting for that next session. So they'll be excited to come to the next one while you in the background are just trying to figure out what the heck is going to happen next.
That's true. Like I said, it's all about being creative. Stopping if you have to, coming up with solutions at the seat of your pants if you must, but knowing that, hey, this campaign just can't end that way. I'm a proponent for not letting the TPK get out of hand, right?
Yep.
Not when it's out of your control as the game master. Now, if it's good for the story, if it's a cinematic thing, like at the very end, well, what do you think about that?
Well, leaving a TPK at the end can sometimes create the players may be hostile. They may get upset. They may not be happy about that situation. Maybe they felt like all of that was to naught if they ended up losing at the end, especially if it's the last boss. Now, you can always maybe twist it into more of a suspenseful moment where an example, and I may have brought this up at one point. I had a campaign where the big baddie, they thought they killed the big baddie, but the big baddie was a lich. The lich actually seemed to have died, but actually was living inside one of the players. And then at the end of the campaign, when they were partying in the city thinking that they had won, the lich actually burst forth and was able to then like come into the real world and about to attack everybody. And it seemed like all was lost, like everything was about to go. And then I ended the campaign there. So it's not everyone dies in the moment. It's more of a, hey, suspense, act 2. Maybe we'll pick up this campaign another time. Just something where like, hey, you don't want to end with a death. Maybe end with a death, and maybe leave some suspense where then, just like in any, like during the normal part of the campaign, it leaves them something like may happen. Like you're leaving a question mark.
I think that, depending, obviously, know your party, right? But I think having a grand cinematic finale, right? Not that the bad guy won, but you won, but at the great hero's sacrifice, right? Let's say like the battle was losing and the player's like, no, the bad guy's going to win. We just can't have it happen. And then they think of some great solution that destroys everything, including themselves, right? I think if you can swing it that way, I think that would make it more memorable, and the players would appreciate that. And then obviously having telling them that the whole world will always tell their story and the sacrifices that they did, right? So they have that as part of their ending for their campaign. Yep. I think is really good.
I was going to mention like in one of my campaigns, like in another campaign, the players with the new characters came across a memorial to the previous players, right? In that vein, where they're like, oh man, so that really gives them that nostalgia from the last campaign, and now they do feel more proud of that moment because they see that their previous characters were immortalized with some remembrance, right? That can definitely go in a great way for your players.
Yep. That's I think that's such an awesome thing to do, right? Now, I do want to get into one solution, right? A solution to the TPK, and I think it's a solution that all game masters struggle with. Maybe not all, but some game masters would struggle with, right? And that's fudging the dice, right? Purposely not killing your parties or pulling your punches, as it were, just to let the party continue on, to let the story continue on, right? So what's your take on the to fudge the dice or not to fudge the dice?
Man, that's a tough one. We've all been in that moment where the players were just rolling terrible. Your DM rolls were on point. I mean, you were 20s the whole time. And you realize that your players were, little by little, you knew this was a slippery slope. And that next one was going to get them. And they were going to die. And you roll that last 20 and you're like, man, if I let this go, that's it. It's over. To fudge the dice or not to fudge the dice. I am more of the fudge the dice. I think, and I know some DMs out there are going to be like, no, you have to, the spirit of the game and you must do it. No, listen, in the end, it's all about your player's experience, right? You as a DM, you have your fun moments, right? You enjoy it, but it really comes down to your players. Will the players enjoy this moment? Is it one of those climax, like you said, where it's that last battle, maybe it's the climax and maybe it's the sacrifice and maybe it's okay? Or do you just say, nope, I'm just going to let it slide for now? Especially if it's in the middle of your campaign or early on and you're like, man, like we started or we're just in the middle and like, I'm going to end up now. Sometimes I'll pull my punches a little bit. Maybe I'll, instead of a crit, maybe I'll say it's a hit, but I'm going to let that 20 slide. Maybe I'll just say it's a regular hit. I lean more towards that. You?
I think it's all about the cinematic, right? Telling a great story, getting the party excited, right? And let's say you fudge the dice a little bit just for the sake of the scene, right? To make the scene more tense, right? You didn't fudge the hit, but you fudged the damage. You knew exactly that party member had 14 hit points left. So what did you do? You did 13 damage. You gave him that one, like, oh no, what are you going to do now? And you gave him that suspenseful moment to really have that comeback, right? So that way, after the battle's over and the party's so excited, like, oh my God, I can't believe we almost died. You know, we just did that and we just lived through that. Oh my, you know, just that excitement, right? I think it's all about the story, right? And the cinematics to that story. And that's what I think should be the driving factor, whether you do it or not. But not that you do it all the time, but let it be part of the story, right? So, yeah.
Perfect response. Making it cinematic, making it exciting, utilizing those moments to make an exciting moment and not just say, oh, well, there goes my party. And then there goes the campaign or the scenario, right?
Yep.
I think this is something that all DMs really need to think about and how they really want their players' experience to go. So sometimes if you're that DM who's so, the natural course of life and evolution and the dice roll as they may, if you're that kind of DM, look at the faces of your players as you do that swing and watch their faces as you end them and then end the campaign early. And then take a good look at yourself.
Now, ending a character once or twice, it's one thing, but everybody, a whole TPK? I'd think about that one before you do it.
I think to kill a single player or not to kill the single player, I think that's fine.
Well, I think it once again depends. It's like the TPK as well. So it depends on the moment. Does the player character actually end in a dramatic fashion where that person will be okay with it? So they're more in tune with like, yeah, that was exciting. What a way for that character to go and then create a new character, because some people just love creating new characters, so they're okay with dying. But at the same time, if look at their face, if they're really attached to that character and having that character pass is going to really crush them and make them not excited to continue on with the campaign. Maybe not. So.
Maybe also have an out. Maybe the players can drag their body to the local, cleric and, maybe with a little bit of gold, they can bring him back. So, there may be a way out.
Yeah.
So have a way out just in case that character's really tied to that, or the player's really tied to that character. Or if that character's been grumbling, not happy with their character, or that player's not happy with the character, maybe that is the way to go.
Maybe you can make it a little side quest to find a way to bring that character back, right? Just do something with it. Be creative about it.
Didn't I kill one of your characters and you're like, cool, finally, I need to change my character in the middle of a campaign?
That happens. I mean, sometimes you create a character and you think it's going to be cool, and then you start playing it, like, did not jive. It happens. It happens. Hey, and you know what? If one of your players actually gets with you and just says on the side, like, without away from everybody else, is like, hey, if you end me this game, I might be okay with it. I'm kind of starting something new. You know what I'm saying? So,
without going too far into a new topic, that's actually a great conversation to have with your DM.
Yep.
If you're a player and you're not happy with your character, talk to your DM on the side. Maybe there's a way to, the character
fudge the dice the other way,
right? And it actually, by killing the character, creates for the other players, they create this moment like, oh man, we could actually die in this, right? So in the back end, you're like, all right, so I got them thinking a little bit more about what they're jumping into now because I actually killed one of the characters. So maybe that, actually works out a little bit.
Creates a little suspense, a little horror as the players look upon the game master like, oh my God, you monster. How could you? So, have fun with it.
Yeah, right. So a little collaboration might work out in the end for that single player, single character kill.
Let us know down below. Do you fudge the dice? Do you allow the TPK in your games? Let us know in the comments.
If you like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe as we have more content coming out soon. Until then, see you next time.